Welcome to Sage Audio. Today we're covering how to mix high-end. To get the most from your music, watch the entirety of each chapter for a complete understanding of the topic. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. High-end on vocals. For this video, I'll make a DAW mixes high-end cut through and introduce processing in sequential order. When mixing, vocals can be a challenge to make bright but not harsh. But here's the quickest way to accomplish that. Start with a de-esser and use a shelf filter to attenuate the high frequency range. Then use an equalizer to amplify the range that the de-esser attenuated. The Weiss de-esser is a great option for this, but use whatever works for you. Let's listen to a before and after and pay particular attention to how the high end is present, but the sibilance of the vocal is no longer aggressive.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep me on your side. Oh, yeah.
Dynamic stereo expansion of highs. If you have a stereo instrument like a drum loop or a synth, you can use a dynamic mid-side EQ to amplify the high frequency range and expand the stereo image simultaneously. To do this, create a high frequency shelf, make it dynamic, and place the band on the side. If you have a mid-side EQ that doesn't have a dynamic option, that's fine too. Let's take a listen and notice the subtle brightening and widening that this effect has.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, right? Oh, yeah.
If you're enjoying the video, consider hitting the like button. It really helps us bring you more videos. Distorting transients with compression. When mixing drums, we can use specific settings to accomplish transient expansion via mild distortion. What I'll do is set a super quick attack and release time so that the waveform distorts when compression occurs. Then, I'll use a hard knee and auto makeup gain. If available, also isolate the compression's monitoring to only the high frequencies via an internal sidechain and use an aggressive algorithm. Let's listen and pay particular attention to how this amplifies the hi-hats on this drum loop.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep me on your side. Oh, yeah.
Frequency-specific transient expansion. Similar to Chapter 2, this trick is going to take a special plugin, but if you have Eventide Split EQ, you can amplify the transients of the high frequency. Using the green or transient band, I'll amplify the highs with a shelf by a few dB. In turn, the plugin will amplify the quickest parts of the high frequency range, making it brighter and more dynamic. This EQ works particularly well on drums, similar to the compression discussed in the previous chapter. Let's take a listen and notice how quickly this EQ can amplify high-frequency transients.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep me on your side. Oh, yeah.
Only a small percentage of people that watch our videos are subscribed, so if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Send instruments to high-frequency bus. For this trick, I'm going to send some of my instruments to a bus, then insert a linear phase EQ that isolates the high frequencies by using a high-pass filter. This EQ needs to be linear phase so that the bus stays in time with the original signal. Now that I have these frequencies isolated, I can increase the level of the auxiliary track to increase the high end of these instruments. Let's take a listen to this trick and see what exactly is being amplified.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep me on your side. Oh, yeah.
Reverse New York style compression. Typically, New York style compression includes setting up a parallel compression on an aux track, then equalizing it, but in this track, we'll use the same auxiliary send from the previous chapter and compress after the equalization. This way I'm only compressing my high frequencies, giving me a lot more control. I'm going to use the same compression settings from Chapter 3 and distort my transients using short attack and release settings and a hard knee. Let's listen to how this combination creates an enjoyably clicky sound that works really well when blended in with the original signal.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep near your side. Oh, yeah.
High frequency tube distortion. High frequency distortion is a quick way to increase the high end of an instrument. Furthermore, a tube distortion setting will expand transients, making them easier to hear. If we combine these two concepts, then high frequency tube distortion is a great way to increase high end detail. I'll use Saturn II and isolate the tube distortion to my highs. I'll also amplify the highs to make the keys I'm affecting a little brighter. Let's listen and notice how high frequency distortion is really helping to augment the key track's clarity.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep. Oh, yeah.
Dense chroma reverb. On the same auxiliary send we used in chapters 5 and 6, I'm going to insert what I think is a pretty special reverb plugin. Logic's stock reverb isn't considered a great reverb due to its somewhat unnaturally bright and chimey sound, but it's useful for that very reason. In the main page, I'll use the Arri algorithm and increase the density to 100%. Then in the details window, I'll boost the highs, emphasize early reflections, and increase the reflections stereo width. Let's listen to the subtle high frequency layer that this reverb creates in our mix.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep near your side. Oh, yeah.
Easy bright sound. If you're looking for the easiest way to add brightness or create a more noticeable high end on any instrument or bus, try Fresh Air by Slate Digital. It's a free plugin that lets you amplify the highest aspects of your signal by using 2 aggressive shelf filters. Let's listen to the effect that this plugin has on an air bell in this mix.
What would I do without you in my life? You blew my mind, you stole my eyes. I don't wanna leave, please keep near. Oh, yeah.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.